Welcome, everybody, to our presentation on how I cured my own anxiety using natural methods. So, this is a very personal presentation that I'm about to take you through that I have shared with virtually nobody. So, hopefully, you all find some value. And what I want to say is if you look at the pictures we have up here, both of these pictures are of me, and I, for years, decades suffered from anxiety, and I mean really bad anxiety to the point where I could not get up in front of anybody and give a presentation. And I'm not just talking about a group of hundreds of people, I'm talking about even talking to one person one on one was extremely challenging for me. I'd be sweating from my armpits all day long and have to change shirts multiple times a day because I was just constantly anxious. And my anxiety came out as sweat and as a number of other psychological things that made it extremely challenging to get ahead in my career, to have a social life, and to learn and do a lot of the things that were important to me. Now, if any of you have suffered from the same thing, if you're suffering from anxiety, whether it's the crippling anxiety that I had or something not quite as crazy, this is the presentation that you want to see. So, anxiety is really unnecessary and overwhelming worry, unease, and nervousness for something that you cannot control. So often I would be laying in bed, tossing and turning for hours every night. And I'm not just talking 10 or 15 minutes or maybe a half hour, but hours before I could go to sleep, worrying about money or relationships or what was going on at work. And I just could not shut my brain off. It just needed to constantly worry and be anxious over these future events to make sure that I had control over them, which I did not. Now, this is not something that is completely unnatural. There are 20% of Americans, that's 40, 50, 60 million people just in our country, that have anxiety. And there's a reason for that. Through all of human history, I am convinced, this is my own personal opinion, but people that were anxious and worried about things and thought them through and tried to think of solutions and ways to control situations were probably the people that survived over the long term. And because of that, these people that have genetic predisposition to worry and have anxiety and think of future events and how to control them probably were selected to still be alive today and create progeny. So we are the ones, the anxious people that have survived throughout history. And so this is a totally normal thing. However, what's not normal is learning how to understand and control that anxiety so it doesn't take over our life. So I mentioned a little bit about my experience. Really, since the time I was 10, I've had really bad anxiety. I'm in my 40s now, and I wasn't able to really solve or cure my anxiety until my late 30s. So I, in fact, was so anxious that I could not talk to anybody without sweating. Anybody. Um, Even if it was my own parents. And I had trouble giving a presentation, especially. And I've got some stories on the blog that talk about my awful stories of giving two presentations that led me to never want to give one again. I chose a major in college where what I thought during that major was I would never have to give a presentation during all of my time in college, nor would I ever have to give a presentation or talk to a lot of people when I got out of college. So I chose chemical engineering. There are very few people that want to hear a chemical engineer give a presentation. And I went into research and development afterwards. So I did quite a bit of work in the laboratory and the manufacturing plant, and I truly did not ever have to get up and give presentations until slightly later in my career. However, that didn't solve my anxiety problem. I would come into work every single day, sweating armpits, always with the feeling that I needed to get out of there. Just I felt trapped. I felt like I was not necessarily in the right career or the right business, and I always just wanted to get out, get away, and there was really nowhere to get away because my anxiety was inside of me. So even if I got to the most remote, beautiful location, the anxiety was still right there with me. So I had to learn how to deal with my anxiety and how to really cure my anxiety in order to do some of the things in my life that were really important and meaningful to me. So this is the first thing that I did, and this is not what I wanted to do. I went on Lexapro. Lexapro is an anti-anxiety medication, and I started off at a really low dose. I never went higher than that really low dose, and in fact, I weaned myself off of it by consistently reducing my dose over time. So I was on Lexapro for 2 years, and I will say it did work. My anxiety was almost completely gone, even from the very first day that I took Lexapro. It was amazing. Now, I do not condone using pharmaceutical drugs, nor did I want to use an anti anxiety drug for my whole life. So I used my time on Lexapro very effectively. I used it to sign up for a Toastmasters class, which is a class that meets every week. And from day one, you must get up and give a presentation. And there's a series of presentations that you give as you learn how to give better presentations, how to take out words like and ah from your presentations. And it was a very supportive environment. So I used this time very effectively to do all the things I was very scared of doing and had a lot of anxiety over so that I would be good at them when I came off of this. I will say that it did have side effects for me, which was my emotions were completely flat. I had almost no emotion, and I was very forgetful. I would forget things that happened the day before and just really not have any desire to try to remember them. So people in my life made lots of comments on that, and it was starting to really affect me. And I knew I did not want to stay on this for long. I did not want to go on it in the first place, but I was desperate. So what I did is a lot of research into finding ways to solve anxiety naturally. First, obviously, I did those things that scared me that I couldn't have done. At least I didn't think I could have done without taking the medication. And I was able to do those, feel comfortable doing them. And then I felt like if I got off the Lexapro, that I would still feel comfortable doing those things since I had done the scary part of doing it in the first place. The first thing I did was change my diet. So at first, I adopted a diet by Sally Fallon of nourishing traditions. So lots and lots of whole foods. If I ate any kind of grain, I would soak, sprout, or ferment the grain. So sourdough bread and soaked and sprouted rice, etc., as well as whole foods. That was the first foray into diet, which eventually evolved into eating a paleo-esque diet, which was the bulletproof diet. That was virtually grain-free, lower in carbohydrates, high in healthy fats, and extremely high in vegetables. Those vegetables almost certainly solved some micronutrient deficiencies that I had, and the higher healthy fats helped support my brain function. So I believe that was the first step that really helped me turn around my anxiety, but not ultimately what cured it. Next, I did sign up for the very first Bulletproof Coach training program and did get certified as a Bulletproof Coach. Coaching was extremely effective for me in solving my anxiety. So I never talked to anyone about the anxiety that I felt, except for my doctor when I asked to go on Lexapro. That was the first time I admitted to anyone that I had anxiety. Through the coaching program, whether you want to become a coach or you want to be coached by somebody, I was so scared to talk to anyone about how I was feeling and what was going on that I never did. Through the coaching program, I was forced as part of the program to have conversations with people about what was going on inside of me, how I was feeling, and what help and support I needed. And however scary that was to me at first, it was so important to talk through some of these issues with others. It completely changed my life. This was one of the top hacks that I used to cure my anxiety, was understanding that other people out there had the same thoughts and feelings, had gone through the same thing, and could help support me in going through what I was going through in a way that helped me overcome and feel more comfortable with who I was and the anxiety that I was feeling, and give me some tools that I could use to really fix how anxious I was feeling in the moment. And that led to meditation. So meditation was something I had always played around with, but never in an intentional way to do anything specific besides try to clear my mind. When I focused my meditation on feeling where the anxiety was inside of my body, welcoming the anxiety instead of trying to push it away and run away from it, this made all the difference in the world. Saying, "Hello, anxiety. I'm glad that you're here. Welcome." And allowing my body to absorb that energy and let it flow through me rather than trapping it and holding it down, which was actually proving to make my anxiety worse. Welcoming it, using the meditation very consciously in that aspect was a game changer. Emotional freedom technique was also and still remains to be very effective. It involves a series of tapping on energy meridians in your body and is a proven effective technique. If you go to Dr. Mercola's website, mercola.com, and type in EFT, he has many videos on how to do this exactly. Totally free. And by tapping different meridians and using different affirmations or thoughts, you can relieve your anxiety. I used this every single night before bed, and it really did make a difference during those times when I was most anxious. Next was, of course, exercise. Blowing off some of those stress hormones and getting some dopamine through exercise was extremely important for me. And what I personally found was through martial arts, I would have zero anxiety. Sure, you might have anxiety walking into class, but once class starts and somebody is trying to choke me or break my arm or submit me in some way, there is no room for thoughts of anything except what's right in front of me and being completely in the present moment. Nothing else has brought me to the present moment more efficiently, effectively, and every single time than participating in martial arts. So not only am I getting a really good workout and learning some really interesting skills and meeting new people, but I can completely eliminate my anxiety during that time and just let my body and mind relax. Even though I'm working out, yes, it is actually relaxing for me. Other people use running, biking, whatever it is for you, exercise is very important, I feel, in anxiety relief. As I did my research, I found a number of natural compounds and non pharmaceutical compounds that people would use to help their social anxiety. One of those was phenibut. Now, phenibut typically comes as a bulk powder that you weigh out and then you would take. There's some specific ways to take phenibut to make it extremely effective if you're going to try it. And we do have an article and a video on our website on how to do that should you be interested. But it's really only for emergencies. You cannot use phenibut every single day. Phenibut works. Phenibut worked really well for me. If I know I have a really big presentation and I'm getting really nervous for it, if I appropriately take phenibut, I will be social, I will be calm, and I will be focused during that presentation. It really is quite amazing. but your body can down-regulate your own internal production of the neurotransmitter GABA by taking phenibut too often. And then when you stop taking phenibut, you will crash. You'll have more anxiety and more stress because of your dependence on that compound to create that neurotransmitter in your brain. So you absolutely must cycle phenibut. If you're going to use it, I highly recommend you do some research, but only use it 1 or 2 days a week. I literally only use it 3 or 4 times a year. So it is always in my bag for emergencies, but yes, it's effective. Be careful in how you use it. CBD oil. CBD oil actually does quite a bit around anxiety. It's been proven to help with panic disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, social phobias, PTSD, generalized anxiety disorder, and depression. Now, just like an SSRI, that's a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor like Lexapro that I was on, those stop serotonin from being reabsorbed into your tissue. So more serotonin is around in your brain, which is a neurotransmitter that makes us happier and lifts our mood, keeps our anxiety and stress down. So similar to those, CBD oil also keeps serotonin around in the brain and enhances the transmission of serotonin into your system. CBD oil does quite a bit around reducing both anxiety and stress and increasing mood. So it has been shown in studies to have an anti-anxiety effect, and including social anxiety and presentation derived anxiety when people get up and give speeches. So CBD oil is one of those things that I have found if I'm going to give a presentation and it's not as critical where I'm going to take phenibut, I will take CBD oil and I'll also take qualia. So that combination for me is extremely effective in reducing anxiety when I have to get up and give a presentation. So this is the stack that I currently use: is a cup of bulletproof coffee, 1 capsule of CBD oil, and qualia. Now, the qualia gives me the focus, it gives me the memory recall, and it uplifts my mood quite a bit. The CBD oil then also really calms down my nervous system so that I am extremely effective at giving a presentation in front of a big group of people and not at all seeming nervous. I might still be nervous giving that presentation, but on the outside, I can show extreme calm, and on the inside, I am still focused. I have really good memory recall, and I'm a little more playful and sociable. So that nervousness is still there. I allow it to be there. That's completely okay. However, at the same time, I can still give a really great presentation and overcome that anxiety using the CBD oil. Now, I've also effectively used CBD oil during work. So if I'm going into work and I'm already really anxious and I know it's going to be a stressful day, maybe I'm interviewing a number of people for open positions that I have, so I've really got to drill down and talk to people one-on-one all day long, I'll pop a CBD oil capsule that morning, and that works phenomenally well for me. I rarely have to use the CBD or other supplements anymore to reduce my anxiety because I've almost completely cured myself of needing those supports anymore. Now, a lot of the research is showing what CBD oil can do for anxiety. So these are just a list of some of the studies that are out there, but I thought it was really interesting that the CBD oil was actually shown to reduce the stress-induced anxiety of presentations specifically, but also generalized anxiety disorder, social anxiety. So this is well-researched supplement that I feel is critical to have with you when you need that support. For some people, that support might be daily. It's totally fine to take CBD oil daily. It's not something that you need to cycle. And you can continue to use it as I used Lexapro. A lot of these things weren't around when I went on Lexapro in, 2004. They didn't have a lot of these compounds that I was aware of, and they were not widely available. If I had to do it over, I would certainly make way more use of things like the qualia, the CBD oil, the phenibut, and other technologies that are out there today versus going on the pharmaceutical drug. There are other natural stacks that I think work really well that you can try out yourself also. If you were to stack a passion flower extract, ashwagandha, 5-HTP, and magnesium, that's a very effective stack for decreasing anxiety and stress. Something that I have found is with my anxiety comes high blood pressure. When I go into a doctor's office, a dentist's office, my blood pressure goes sky high. And probably when I'm stressed during the day, this also happens. I found a stack, and I'm not really ready to tell you that this is 100% effective every time I'm about to run a study on it. But CBD oil plus L-arginine, 1,000 milligrams, 1 gram of L-arginine with a CBD oil capsule and berberine dramatically lowered my blood pressure. So when my blood pressure spikes when I'm at the doctor to whatever it spikes to, let's say, 140 over 90, I took this stack an hour before going to the doctor and my blood pressure was 118 over 70. It has never, ever been that low when I've gone to the doctor. Simply amazing to me that this worked so well. I'm going to try it for the next month, taking my blood pressure multiple times throughout the day with and without the stack to see if it really does lower blood pressure for me over time. So if you do have high blood pressure associated with your anxiety, or every time you go to the doctor, your blood pressure is high, but it is not high when you're not at the doctor, I think you might want to try out this stack before going to the doctor so that it will be normal when you're there, because then they're not going to diagnose you with high blood pressure when it may not really be an issue. Ultimately, if you really do have anxiety as bad as I had it, you need to do something if you want to live the life that you want to lead. It took me decades before I figured out how to overcome my anxiety and dial it down to the point where I almost never need external supplement support. I've built a network of coaching friends that I can talk to when I really feel the need, and they're very, very supportive. And then I furthermore support them. I have the supplements with me that give me the confidence that if I do begin getting crippling anxiety again, I can reach into my backpack and grab those supplements that I have found will help me. I have my meditation practice, my movement practice, and a surrender practice, which I wrote about in the article that this video will be attached to, that have nearly made it so that I don't get anxiety. And when I do, I have so many tools to use to reduce or eliminate it in the moment that I never had before. I highly recommend you check out some of these things for yourself. This is a picture of me doing something that I have always wanted to do, which is go to a conference and be able to walk up to somebody who was a celebrity, that was one of my idols, say hi to that person, have a conversation with them, and even take a selfie with them. That's something I could just simply never have done ever. And it was so amazing for me to talk to Ben Greenfield, to get a picture with Ben Greenfield, and to tell him how much he contributed to my own health, that I just can't recommend enough to you to get out and try some of these things that have helped me, because it can totally change your life. Please get out there, do something, and make your life 10 times better. I hope that was helpful for you guys. Until next time.